Welcome to the EY India Insights podcast. I'm your host Pallavi, and today we're diving into the topic at the heart of its transformation from pilots to scale on how financial services firms invest in technology. Joining us is Radhika Sehgal, leader and partner in technology consulting for financial services at EY India. With close to 28 years of experience across financial services and technology, leading complex digital transformation programs for EY India. In today's conversation, we'll explore how firms move beyond experimentation to embed technology at scale, the strategic choices, governance structures, return on investment disciplines, and the cultural shifts required to truly transform. Radhika, a very warm welcome to you and thank you for joining our podcast.
Thank you very much. I'm very excited to have this conversation.
Thank you, Radhika. To begin with, Radhika, many financial institutions initiate technology projects as pilots. So, according to you, what are the critical factors that determine whether these pilots can be scaled successfully across the organizations?
This is a very, very pertinent question. Lot of organizations are going through lot of pilots doing POCs on multiple next gen technology, including GenAI and others. But 80% of pilots do not reach production. They just remain in the sandbox. The key success factor for any pilot to actually reach production has multiple enablers. One, it needs to have strategic sponsorship. There needs to be a C-suite ownership with very clear business KPIs. It cannot be just a innovation lab interest. The KPI has to be related to business function, and business function owner has to own it. Second, data readiness is an important element. Clean, unified, and accessible data pipelines are a must if you have to get any technology POC to reach production and then to scale. Architectural and integration decision will be a very important element. We will have to build pilots using scalable enterprise architecture patterns. That means API first, event driven, or cloud native architecture. We cannot have standalone proof of concepts which are just working in silos. Change management is very, very important. We need to embed risk, compliance, and ensure that AI and automations are done in a way that can be scaled enterprise wide. Regulatory and risk alignment upfront is a must. Funding continuity will be a very important element, and hence many of the organizations are moving from an annual capex based funding to product based or a value stream based funding. And if a POC or a proof of concept have to reach scale, it is important that we have these sustained investments through. Last but not the least, it's important to have talent and ownership. Dedicated product teams with business technology collaboration is a must for us to get into scale.
Thank you, Radhika. Now, how can financial services firms ensure that their technology investments are closely aligned with their overarching business strategies and objectives?
Again, another very pertinent question. We have to have technology ROI to be realized, which has to be directly related to business. It has to support revenue growth, cost reduction, or risk mitigation. The best practice around this would be that tech strategy has to be a derivative of business strategy. We have to have tech strategy which is aligned to business outcomes. Second, as I had mentioned earlier, value stream funding, that means shifting from project based to a product or capability based funding, is a must. Joint ownership between CIO, CTO, and business head will be an important element. Architectural alignment, where enterprise level architecture governance boards are set up and new technologies and technology pilots are completely aligned to overall architectural sentiments and alignment, is a must. Last but not the least, there has to be a good governance, a periodic value realization review, a quarterly value councils has to be there so that we are ensured that we are aligning to the business strategies and objectives and not just running pilots which will never see the end of tunnel.
Thank you, Radhika. Now, what are some of the common challenges faced when integrating new technologies into the existing systems, and how can organizations address these obstacles effectively?
There are multiple challenges which I'm seeing in financial services. Many of the financial services organizations have a lot of core systems which are legacy. They are still on mainframe. They are COBOL based architecture which is still existing. Second, there are a lot of inconsistent data standards, and especially across silos, that inconsistency is a big challenge. Latency and interoperability issues exist. Resistance from risk and compliance functions because of certain perceived operational risk is another big challenge that we face. Vendor lock-in with existing system is another challenge which has to be overcome. So how do we address them is we look at this from a legacy modernization perspective. First, we get into a API first modernization. That means we wrap legacy codes in APIs and we migrate progressively rather than a wholesale revamp. So follow the core and get into a API first modernization is first principle that we follow. Second, we need to adopt modular microservices based architecture. New capabilities have to be built around decoupled components. Investment is required in middleware integration layers like ESBs and Kafkas or even streamings to bridge the systems. Parallel run strategy is a must for the old and the new system to be running in parallel before a cutover happens. Change management, upskilling, reskilling is an important element to be taken into consideration. Cloud native integration platform where we are accelerating connectivity with lower latency and standardization is another important characteristics that we adopt to overcome some of the challenges that I have mentioned before.
Thank you, Radhika. Now, to measure the outcome, what metrics or KPIs should financial institutions use to assess the return on their technology investments and ensure that they're delivering value?
KPIs have to be aligned with 3 R's: run, risk, and revenue. The key KPIs that we look at has to be a holistic KPI. First, it has to be related to financial impact, cost to income ratio improvement, unit cost per transaction, productivity gain, tech OPEX percentage of revenue, ROI. Some of these are financial KPIs which are very important. Second are customer impact, NPS uplift, digital adoption rate, average time to service, attrition reduction, and this would be on a medium term basis. Operational impact, where deployment frequency, incident reduction, mean time to resolution, automation percentage, again on a short term basis, these are an important KPI to track. Innovation and agility, where we are tracking time from idea to pilot to production to percentage reusable code. These are some of important KPIs which has to be tracked over a medium term basis. From a risk and compliance perspective, reduction in audit findings, model governance, compliance score, regulatory breaches are an important KPI to be followed. And as I mentioned, having a very, very stringent governance where a lot of these KPIs are tracked on a real-time basis, as well as there are reviews done to align strategy of technology with business outcome. That is a key to the success for scaling pilots to big production ideas.
Thank you, Radhika. Now, with increasing reliance on digital platforms, how can financial services firms maintain a very robust data security and comply also with the regulatory requirements?
Very important element is security, both cyber security, regulatory security, and resiliency that is required. And core principles are zero trust architecture, authenticate every user and device continuously, not just on a login basis. The data minimization and encryption is a must. We mask, tokenize, and encrypt data end to end, especially customer PII data. That's a big challenge and that needs to be encrypted. Data governance framework is very, very important. We define ownership, lineage, access controls, and retention policies. Regulatory alignment, embedded compliance by design for GDPR, RBI, SEC, MAS, and local data localization norms are a must. Continuous monitoring and audit is important, where we are automating some of these control testing and anomaly detection using AI for insider as well as external threats. Third party and vendor security is another important element. We conduct regular due diligence and continuous monitoring of API integration, SaaS vendors, and cloud providers. Incident response readiness, where you are running tabletop simulations and doing some of those, maybe at least quarterly. That's an important element as well.
Thank you, Radhika. Now, lastly, looking ahead, what emerging technologies do you believe will significantly impact the financial services industry, and how should firms prepare for these changes?
There's a good progress that has happened from just on pilot to moving into scale on multiple technology, and the technology innovation is happening at a pace which we have never seen before. GenAI will continue to rule for significant time, which will have impact on customer services, code generation, risk and compliance, and automation. We'll have to prepare a strategy where we are building AI governance, MLOps pipeline, and data labeling capabilities and lineage capabilities. That's a must. Quantum computing is another technology which is picking up, which will impact risk modeling and encryption. Monitoring regular stands, starting with quantum safe cryptography pilots, is a big ticket item that everyone is currently delving into. Embedded finance and API ecosystems will impact new revenue models via partnerships and multiple other avenues. Building secure API platforms and partnership governance will be an important strategy for ensuring that now we are enabling it. Real-time payment and blockchain and crypto has again picked a lot of momentum. Cross-border settlements and tokenized assets are an area which is picking up, and participation in CBDC and instant payment ecosystems is an important strategy for preparation. AI-driven cybersecurity, where we are doing productive defense and threat intel, that will be an important element. And green and sustainable tech is the other technology which is highly picking up. ESG reporting and carbon accounting is an important element. And from a strategy perspective, integrating sustainability data into the core systems and designs is an important strategy that firms need to take into consideration.
Thank you, Radhika. That brings us to the end of this conversation. Thank you for sparing your time and sharing your valuable insights with us today. Our key takeaway to our listeners would be that moving from pilot to scale isn't just about technology, but also about aligning strategy, governance, operating model, and culture as well. So, thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me here. It was a great conversation with you, Pallavi.
Thank you, Radhika. And to all our listeners, thank you for tuning in into our EY India Insights podcast. If you've enjoyed this episode, please do subscribe and share and stay connected for more conversations with our leaders shaping the future. Until next time, this is Pallavi signing off.